If you think this is all a big ado, know that science has found that people with high IQ levels are surpassed 70% of the time by emotionally intelligent people. Know how to control their emotions, reflect on them and put their findings into practice can make you take better than the genius of the class. Incidentally, it is clear that this is not a competition between intelligence. The aim here is perhaps to make you start to notice that your thoughts have a logic that perhaps you even unknown, and seek to understand their own emotions is one of the most exciting activities of all. People with well-developed emotional intelligence are generally considered self-confident, persistent, motivated and able to control themselves. It does not mean, however, that we are talking about people known as kind or cute or someone who is looking for constant approval. That is a fairly common confusion. According to an expert on the subject, Travis Bradbury, people with a high level of emotional intelligence try to be successful. They can control their emotions, have a good social life and constantly value their own attitudes and thoughts. Recent research has proven emotionally intelligent people are those who most do well in their work environments. One such study, just so you get an idea of the size of it, evaluated the lives of 17,000 people from when they were children until they reach adulthood for 50 years. The result: people considered emotionally intelligent were more successful in their careers than those with high IQ scores. And it does not end here. There is research to suggest that people who have developed emotional intelligence in adolescence or early adulthood, it's not only succeed in their professions, they live long and stable loving relationships in addition to having low levels of depression and anxiety. There is evidence also that these people are even healthier. According to psychologist Daniel Goleman, the 5 elements that need to be worked to develop an emotionally intelligent mind are self-knowledge, self-control, motivation, social skills and empathy. Of these items, which may still be unknown, is empathy, which in general is the ability to put yourself in someone else. Some social and political scientists say that little word of immense significance could greatly improve the world in which we live. Doubt? So how about starting to think twice before judging someone by their social status or their attitudes? In some situations, only those who feel on the skin as it is to go through certain experience can speak properly about it. And yes, it's strengthened. This kind of fear can make you not only a more sensible person, but also a successful person. Also, according to Goleman, people who exercise the 5 characteristics above tend to look confident, are good at what they do professionally, achieve their goals, are adaptable and flexible. They are resilient and able to recover from stressful situations, people. Life is much smoother if you have a good emotional intelligence, says the psychologist. Only psychology professionals can accurately identify whether a person has or not a high level of emotional intelligence. Still, a popular way to try to find out how is your emotional intelligence is to evaluate their ability to recognize facial expressions. So you are good to know what someone is feeling just by looking facial expressions of that person. Emotional intelligence meaning. Emotional intelligence is a concept related to the so-called social intelligence. This psychology was created by American psychologist Daniel Goleman. An emotionally intelligent person is one who can identify their emotions more easily. One of the great advantages of people with emotional intelligence is the ability to auto-motivate and move forward even in the face of frustrations and disappointments. Among the features of emotional intelligence is the ability to control impulses, channeling emotions for appropriate situations, practice gratitude and motivate people, and other qualities that can help encourage others. According to Goleman, emotional intelligence can be subdivided into 5 specific skills: emotional self, emotional control, self-motivation, empathy, develop interpersonal relationships, social skills. The control of emotions and feelings to be able to achieve some goal today can be considered one of the main assets for personal and professional success. For example, a person who can focus on the work and complete all its tasks and obligations even felt sad, anxious or upset. Emotional intelligence for most scholars of human behavior can be considered more important than the mental intelligence, IQ, to achieve satisfaction overall. The characteristics that make up emotional intelligence is a portmanteau of the interpersonal intelligence and interpersonal present in the core theory of multiple intelligences developed by the American psychologist Howard Gardner. The first three factors are linked to the intelligence intrapersonal, the ability to understand himself, to produce a true and accurate representation of yourself and use it permanently and creatively. The remaining two are connected to the intelligence interpersonal, the gift of understanding others, which elements stimulate them, how they operate and how to act with them associatively. Charles Darwin was perhaps the first theorist to use a design similar to emotional intelligence. He defends the value of the expression of emotions for subsistence and accommodation to a given context. Although some scholars bound the elements of knowledge in the composition of intelligence, many other famous scholars are beginning to highlight the significance of non-cognitive factors. The psychometrist Robert L. Thorndike, Columbia University, appealed in 1920 to the use of emotional intelligence expression to refer to the ability to understand and encourage others. 20 years after David Wetzler spoke about the ascendancy of the aspects outside the intellect of the field on the intelligence performance, he also claimed that the intelligence standards would only be full when these elements are properly considered in the analysis of this concept. It was only in 1983 that the psychologist Howard Gardner developed his theory of multiple intelligences. In this study, he entered the purpose of covering both the concepts of intrapersonal intelligence and the interpersonal intelligence. According to this scholar, tools like the IQ does not fully elucidate the potential of knowledge acquisition. IQ versus QE. The intelligence quotient, IQ, and the emotional quotient, EQ, are different capacities, but not antagonistic. Rather, one should seek to articulate the intellectual skills and the emotional, using emotion to facilitate reason and reason to manage emotion functionally. Although separate realities, there is an interdependence between our intellect and our feelings, which reveals the importance of mastering both dimensions. People with well-developed emotional intelligence have extreme ease of integration and relationship, adapting successfully to organizational dynamics. In addition to communicative and creative, emotionally intelligent people have a strong sense of responsibility and a remarkable ability to adapt to change. Although there is no scientific method to measure or assess the emotional quotient, the truth is that organizations have been paying increasing attention to this factor in the recruitment and selection processes. Especially for senior positions, it is usual the development of tools to assist in the evaluation of emotional intelligence, although this is always done subjectively. The real test of these professionals lies in the very organizational everyday. It is often the experience that a company will realize its value and unveil the results that simplistic assessment tests allow to realize. In the assessment of rational skills, we have added the analysis of the personal and social skills, which increasingly assume as differentiating factors. 14 signs that you have emotional intelligence. What makes some people more successful than others at work and in life? IQ and ethics are important, but not everything. Our emotional intelligence, how we manage emotions, both our own and those of others, can have a critical role in determining our happiness and our success. Plato said that all learning has an emotional base, and perhaps he is right. The way we interact with our emotions and regulate has an impact on almost every aspect of our lives. To put it in colloquial terms, emotional intelligence, EI, is like the wisdom of the street as opposed to wisdom books, and is responsible for much of the ability of a person to navigate efficiently through life. Who has emotional intelligence is usually confident, knows how to work towards your goals, is adaptable and flexible, you recover quickly from stress, and is tough, said the Huffington Post psychologist Daniel Goleman, author of Focus, The Hidden Driver of Excellence. Life runs much more smoothly if you have good emotional intelligence. The 5 components of IE, as defined by Goleman, are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. We can be strong in some of these areas and deficient in others, but we all have the power to improve in any of them. Not sure what your level of emotional intelligence? Here are 14 signs that you have a high IE. First, do you feel curious about people who do not know? Do you like to meet new people and of course tend to ask many questions after being introduced to someone? In this case, you have a degree of sympathy, one of the main components of the IE. People highly empathic, those are extremely attuned to the needs and feelings of others and act in a sensible way. These needs have one important thing in common. They are very curious about outsiders and interested genuinely to know more about each other. Be curious about others is also a way to cultivate empathy. Curiosity expands our empathy when we talk to people outside of our usual social circle, finding lives and very different worldviews of our, wrote Roman Krasnarich, author of Empathy, a handbook for revolution, in his Greater Good blog. Second, you are a great leader. Exceptional leaders usually have one thing in common, according to Goleman. In addition to the traditional requirements for success, talent, work, ethic and ambition for example, they have a high degree of emotional intelligence. In his research comparing those who fared extremely well in leadership roles with those who were just middling, he found that about 90% of the difference in their profiles was due to IE, not to cognitive ability. The higher the rank of a person considered an excellent actor, more emotional intelligence capabilities appeared as a reason for its effectiveness, Goleman wrote in Harvard Business Review. Third, do you know your strengths and weaknesses? A great self-consciousness factor is honest with yourself about who you are. You know where does very well and where you have trouble, and accept those things. An emotionally intelligent person learns to identify their areas of strength and weakness and analyzes how to work more effectively within that framework. This awareness creates confidence, which is one of the main factors of IE, according to Goleman. If you know it is really effective, can operate from that trust, he says. Fourth, do you know how to pay attention? You're distracted by each tweet, message and thought that goes through your head. In this case, you may be preventing you from functioning at its highest level of emotional intelligence. But the ability to handle distractions and focus on the task at hand is a great secret of emotional intelligence, says Goleman. Without being present with yourself and others, it is difficult to develop self-awareness and strong relationships. Your ability to focus on the work you are doing or your homework and allow to read that message or play that game when finished, their level of efficiency in this respect during childhood has to be a stronger predictor of your financial success as an adult than your IQ or the wealth of his family, says Goleman. And we can teach children to do this. Fifth, when you are upset, you know exactly why. We all experience some emotional fluctuations throughout the day. and often do not even understand what is causing a wave of anger or sadness. But an important aspect of self-awareness is the ability to recognize where they come from, your emotions, and know why you're upset. Self-awareness also comes to recognize emotions when they sprout, instead of identifying them badly or ignore them. Emotionally intelligent people retreat a step forward emotions, examine what they are feeling and the effect of emotion on them. Sixth, do you get along with most people? Having satisfactory and effective relationships, this is a sign, says Goleman. Seventh, you care deeply about being a good and moral person. An IE aspect is our moral identity, which has to do with the extent to which we see ourselves as ethical and caring people. If you are a person who cares about building that side of herself, regardless of how you acted in previous moral situations, may have a high IE index. Eighth, do you get time to slow down and help others? If you make a habit of slow to pay attention to others, is slightly out of his way to greet someone or help an elderly woman on the subway, you demonstrate emotional intelligence. Many people, a lot of the time, are completely focused on themselves, and often it's because we are so busy running around in a state of stress, trying to do things that just do not have time to realize others, the less help. There is a spectrum that goes from complete self-absorption to see and to feel empathy and compassion, Goleman said in a TED Talk on compassion. The simple fact is that if we are focused on ourselves, if we are concerned, which often are throughout the day, not really fully realize the other, be more attentive in contrast to being absorbed into your little world, plant the seeds of compassion, a crucial component of IE. Ninth, you are good at reading facial expressions of people. Being able to feel how others are feeling is an important part of having a good IE. Take this test at the University of California at Berkeley to find efficiency in reading the emotions of others. 10th, after falling, you get up quickly. How do you deal with mistakes and setbacks says a lot about who you are. Individuals with high EI know that if there is one thing we all have to do in life, is to move on. When an emotionally intelligent person suffers a failure or setback, she can recover quickly. It is partly because of the ability to experiment with attention negative emotions without letting them get out of control, which offers a higher degree of resistance. The strong person is not tied to negative emotions, but let them stand side by side with other feelings, said Barbara Fredrickson, author of Positivity, The Experienced Life. So while they are feeling, I'm sad because it, also tends to think, but I'm grateful for that. 11th, you are a good judge of character. You can always have a sense of who a person is from the beginning, and their intuitions rarely cheat. 12th, do you trust your instinct? A person with emotional intelligence is someone who feels comfortable following your intuition, says Goleman. If you can trust yourself and your emotions, there is no reason not to listen to that inner voice or that feeling in the stomach that tells you which way to follow. 13th, have you ever been self-motivated? You've always been ambitious and hardworking as a child, even when he was not rewarded for it. If you are an active and motivated person and can focus their attention and energy to pursue your goals, probably you have a high level of IE. 14th, can you say no? Self-regulation, one of the 5 components of emotional intelligence, means being able to discipline themselves and avoid unhealthy habits. People endowed with IE are well equipped to tolerate stress, a trigger for many of the bad habits, and control their impulses, according to Goleman. How to expand your emotional intelligence? Our emotions can provide us with valuable information about ourselves, about others in various situations. An explosion of anger directed to a co-worker can alert you to the fact that you are feeling overwhelmed by overwork. A sense of anxiety about a presentation can inform you that needs to be better prepared with facts and figures. Frustration with a customer may suggest you need to find other ways to communicate with them. Using the information that your emotions you provide can change their behavior and their thinking to reverse situations. In the case of a burst of anger, for example, you could look for ways to reduce your workload or facilitate their work process. As you see, emotions play an important role in your workplace. From anger to elation, frustration to contentment, every day in the office you face with his and others' emotions. The trick is to use your emotions intelligently. What comes to be simply defined by what emotional intelligence, to intentionally your emotions work for their benefit, using them to help guide their behavior and their thinking to obtain better results. The good news is that emotional intelligence can be nurtured, developed and expanded. This is not an impossible feature to acquire. The way to expand your emotional intelligence is to learn and practice the techniques and skills that comprise, among them, self-awareness, emotional control and motivation. As large as the self-awareness at work over a working day, you may have to talk to a customer angry, calm, an anxious boss, present an idea during a meeting. Are several factors that influence their performance in each of these activities. For example, if the angry customer has made an unreasonable demand after another, and then you might as well lose patience with him. If you're confident about your role in a project, probably able to calm the concerns of the head. It is believed that his colleagues believe inexperienced too much for this work. You may feel shy and insecure for them to present their ideas during a meeting. Awareness of your own feelings and attitudes, as well as the perception that others have of you, can influence their actions in such a way that they work their benefit. Let's assume that you are aware that your client is abusing you, and you know that antagonizing it could have tragic consequences in the first instance. Your course action may well be trying to calm him rather than irritate it further, showing a lack of patience. In the case of an anxious boss, if you notice that he is concerned because anything will depend on the success of a particular project, so could care to tell you who made and assured you that the project will be well received. In the last example, you are aware that his colleagues consider him inexperienced, probably want to be well prepared before presenting their ideas. The trick, in this case, is to use the wealth of information about yourself that are your fingertips. Feelings, sensations, assessments, actions and intentions. They will help you understand how to react, act, communicate and operate in different situations and have self-means to process them. We have learned that self-awareness is essential for emotional intelligence, as it is important to your success at work and how the lack of it impairs their efficiency. Now, let's examine how you can expand your self-awareness. You do not need to spend hours on the couch of a psychiatrist. To expand their self-awareness, you need a period time of serious introspection and courage to explore their reactions to people and events of his professional life. It is specifically required. Examine how you do reviews. Be sensitive to your senses. Contact your feelings. Identify your intentions. Pay attention to your actions. Examine how you do reviews. Reviews are all different impressions, interpretations, assessments, and expectations you have for yourself and other people and situations. They are influenced by various factors that configure a personality and generally have the form of thoughts of an internal dialogue. Aware of their assessments, you learn how your thoughts influence your feelings, your actions and reactions, thus being able to change them. Watch out for your senses. Your senses, sight, hearing, smell and taste, are the sources of all your information about the world. It is through them that you get information about yourself, on others and different situations. But often happens with your senses something interesting. They are filtered and modified by their ratings. Let the example of their boss, that you consider a fool, no capacity for work, it does. During the conversation he said he had not had the opportunity to study the subject better because he had been busy with other things. What I wanted that meeting was a preliminary discussion of the issue. Well, you were so convinced of his incompetence that you did not hear it, so considered the lack of information it a consequence of stupidity, not lack of time. What happened there was that his assessment of his performance acted as a filter, erasing some important things that your boss told you. Contact your feelings. Your feelings are spontaneous emotional reactions to their interpretations and expectations. As sensory information, they provide you with important data which will help you understand why you act like acts. They alert you to your wellness level given a situation and help you understand your reactions. Why is this so important to pay attention to them? Let's say you are angry with a colleague because he is not doing the part it is up to you and you have to do his job. You do not talk about it to anyone. Pretend he is not angry, just overwhelmed. Tell yourself that your colleague is young, therefore has no notion of what it should be doing. It is shown impatient with him, tired and nervous home, without knowing the reason. But if you ask what was really going on, becoming aware of your anger and your resentment, would be able to find out the reason. Their perception of the inability of his colleague. Recognizing anger, you have the opportunity to control it productively. Can go out to lunch with him and ask if he is having trouble with work, whether you can help him. You can also chat with the boss about the problem. What should be emphasized is that to ignore or deny their emotions, you are deprived of the ability to act on them. Negative feelings can often degenerate, refuse, leaving him worse than if you had paid attention to them. To recognize them, you will be able to control them and move on. Identify your intentions. The intentions may refer to their immediate desires, what you would like to achieve today or in a particular situation or next weekend, and also to your long-term desires, what you like to do by the end of the year or throughout your life. As well as feelings, your intentions can be sometimes difficult to understand. In the case of intentions, the reason is that we often confuse an intention to another, confuse our hidden purpose with our apparent intention. His hidden purpose, it may be that his parents, who have always thought that you would be useless in life, stay impressed with your success. Its apparent intention is that you want the promotion to vice presidency. In this case, recognize that impress his parents is his true intention was not to change your plan to fight for the vice presidency, but made clear that fact. Another difficulty when dealing with intentions is that they sometimes seem conflicting. If you know that your real intention is to have a good working relationship with his secretary, have more chances to control anger and less yelling at her when she makes a mistake. Pay attention to your actions. As the acts are physical, they can be observed by others, and we can watch them if they decide, and the key here is we decide. In general, we are aware of our more general acts. Why self-awareness is the basic element of emotional intelligence. As we learned, you can expand your emotional intelligence learning to control your emotions and motivate yourself, and can also maximize the effectiveness of their emotional intelligence developing your communication skills, your interpersonal skills, and your skills as the emotional mentor. Self-awareness is the core of each these skills because emotional intelligence can only start when the information comes in perceptual system. For example, to be able to control anger, you have to be aware what causes it and how this powerful emotion affects you. Then you can learn how to reduce it and use it correctly. To circumvent despondency and be able to motivate, you need to be aware of your emotional involvement in the relationship. The heightened self-awareness allows you to monitor, observe in action. Being you in the center of your universe, you must first understand what makes you act as you do before starting to change your behavior for better results. You need to understand what is important to you, the way you experience things, whatever, like feelings, and how are the others. This subjective knowledge about the nature of your personality not only directs your conduct in every situation, as we have seen in the examples above, but also it provides a solid framework to make better choices. These choices may be trivial, that refusal to call I give first, or critical. If you accept this new job, I will be working with 50 people, and I know that this kind of situation makes me feel shy and insecure. If I stay here, I earn less, but I'll feel safe and comfortable, and that's what I need now. The intelligence of use emotional at work. One way to understand the importance of EI in leadership is analyzing the 4 basic emotional and social skills. For Goleman, these skills are listed in 7 items as follows. First, emotional self-awareness. Emotionally self-aware leaders can be candid and authentic, able to speak openly about their emotions or conviction of the goals that aim. Second, self-leaders endowed with self remain calm and continue with the head in place even under high stress or during a crisis. Third, adaptability. Can be flexible in adapting to new challenges, nimble in adaptation to continuous and flexible change in their ideas or new information realities. Fourth, optimism. See others in a positive light, wanting for them the best. Fifth, empathy. These leaders listen attentively and can put in place the other. Sixth, conflict management. Those leaders who best manage conflicts. Seventh, teamwork and cooperation. Leaders who work well together produce an atmosphere of friendly solidarity and are themselves models of respect, helpfulness and cooperation. Also, according to Goleman, the leader has the ultimate power to control emotions of all. When they were pushed to the side of enthusiasm, performance can shoot. If people are incited to anger and anxiety, they lose their way. The 6 perfections. According to the Dalai Lama, in his book Leadership for a Better World, the 6 perfections are of great value to humans, and the leader who has these characteristics has a great ability to affect people in a profound way. The 6 perfections are: first, generosity, giving attention, love, teachings and help to those who need it. We know that a leader who wants to be with everything he destroys motivation. Second, patience. Be careful not to harm others and do good. Patience must be cultivated and be seen as justified patience. Third, ethics. Realize that the desires and pains come and go, and it is not worth it upset about it. Before any action, we must get rid of any thoughts negative that can hurt us and hurt our neighbor. Fourth, commitment. We need to establish transcendent goals and dedicate ourselves to them, since our degree of enthusiasm depends on our belief in the importance of the objectives that we want to achieve. Fifth, concentration means doing one thing at a time with full and total attention. Sixth, wisdom is to have a correct vision, or the ability to see the things as they really are and recognize that nothing lasts forever. Final considerations. IE can be defined as our ability to relate assertively and positively with people, good astral terms even in adversity, persistence in pursuit of our goals, and characterizes the way people deal with their emotions and the people around you. It implies self-awareness, motivation, persistence, empathy, understanding and social characteristics as persuasion, cooperation, negotiation and leadership. The IE is not genetic, are learned skills and improved in the course of our lives. That way we can say that we have two minds, therefore two different kinds of intelligence, rational and emotional. Our performance in life is determined not only by IQ, but mainly for IE. In fact, cannot give best of themselves without the IE, since they are full partners in mental life. When these partners interact well, the IE increases and the intellectual capacity. It drops the myth that we should override reason to emotion, that is, we must seek a balance between both. IE can be achieved through training and effort, but it requires persistence. People have to identify exactly what they want to achieve. By performing this type of analytical exercise methodically for a few weeks or months, the person may replace the habits you want to delete by others who end up becoming automatic and can completely change for the better the way of life, both professionally and personally. The key to successful leadership is in the fields of IE, not IQ. Leadership requires skills to persuade and inspire, emphasize and articulate feelings. Many signs show that the emotionally competent people take advantage in any field of life, assimilating the unspoken rules that govern success in organizational politics. The leaders of this new era increasingly value the human being as a partner and not as a tool. Persons with well-developed emotional practice are most likely to feel satisfied and be efficient, dominating the mental habits that foster productivity. Those who cannot exert control over the emotional life, waging inner battles that sabotage their ability to concentrate on work and think clearly. We note that according to the authors cited, they argue that the emotional competence in leaders can be one of the few competitive advantages really lasting since the project, a clear vision for your team, inspire them and motivate them. Managing conflicts and relationships, the leader of Resonant can multiply their own potential and that of each child, stimulating creativity, cooperation and entrepreneurship. Unlike the head dissonant that has no ability to interact productively and it ends up paralyzing the initiative of subordinates, atrophies talents and reduces the effectiveness of group as a whole, and of course to discourage the whole team and the people who are around us. Although immediately can present seemingly positive results, it would prove the medium term an unconscious saboteur of own goals. It can be understood as the ability to manage our emotions to facilitate achieving our goals. It seems very obvious now, but it was necessary that the psychologist Daniel Goleman warns about the importance of emotions in everything we do and what goals achieved. The coolest of the term emotional intelligence is that it automatically leads us to influence our thoughts on our emotions. Being smart is being able to think clearly, is to be able to think objectively about our emotions. It can give us control over ourselves. Every time someone misses an opportunity to stay dead to speak of shame with the boss, every time someone fails to make this wonderful trip because it has fear of flight, are times when they were not emotionally intelligent. They did not use the emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence can be innate but can also be learned. I believe that everyone can have the potential to be intelligent, but may need training. To be emotionally intelligent, we must respect our emotions, validate them, that is, give us the right to feel what we feel, but work these emotions so that they do not dominate us when they are harmful. Possession is very good at delivering positive emotions. Give us to love, to enjoy a conquest, to enjoy a good time. But when your emotions are limiting your life and blocking your happiness, it's time to be smart and try to manage these emotions so that work to their advantage. For example, you need to talk to a person who makes you very nervous. If unintelligent emotional level, you may have one of these attitudes. Escape an excuse and never talk to that person. Speaking bluntly and elegant, putting nothing to lose any chance of success. Speak and do not want to give more than you should, but when using emotional intelligence, assertiveness may emerge. Perhaps you can tell what needs to be stylish and family.